Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 843 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and it's looking like it's a beautiful morning here in Jalapa, Mexico. Although there is a lot of noise because you guys cued the cock a little too early. They're going right now. We're just starting the show. And the day is starting to get underway. It's about 8 in the morning, 8:13, 8:15 in the morning here where we are. And the little area where we are is starting to come to life. We see some ATVs going and all that good stuff. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and Cubs, how is your mental health today? Mine is doing very well, thank you. I had a wonderful night, wonderful day yesterday. Like we did the jungle walk and went by a waterfall earlier in the day. And then yesterday evening, we went out for dinner. And on the way there, there's a little cafe that has a wine night on Wednesdays. And we went to check it out. And it was like a congregation of expats or people who are on vacation. All sharing wine, talking outside, and there was even a little jam session. Someone there with a violin and something with one of those little egg shakers to make it hold a beat, and someone with a guitar. And we were singing songs, and somewhere along the way, we got a little taste of Canada because we sang Ahead by a Century from The Tragically Hip and also Fiddler's Green. So there you go. We had a little dose of Canada here in Mexico last night. Oh man! And then we made a new friend, Valeria. Hello, and we went out for dinner together at a great restaurant that has absolutely fantastic food. Actually, we went 2 nights in a row, so that's how good it was. And today is our last day in Jalapa before we head to our new residence in Puerto Vallarta for a few days, and then we'll have to take on another one. We weren't able to find one to last the entire time we were there, so we'll have to move a second time at one point. Fortunately, it's only a building or two down from where we'll be staying, so it won't be a long haul. But we had to cobble together places to stay to make the whole trip. We decided on Jalapa later, so when we did, we had to modify our dates from the first one. That required us to find a place with we'll find 2 spots instead. But all's well that ends well, and things are going well. The shower is still working. Maybe Beaver Sweetie is just about to come out. So, it looks like things are on their way. And before we go, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a chance to do a little kayaking today. And then we'll grab a water taxi back to Boca de Tomatan and then a bus to Puerto Vallarta. And we'll be starting the second phase of our vacation here. I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit so that I am better situated here. There we go. That looks better, although now I'm a little crooked. Let's try that. And the more I'm touching it, the worse I'm making it. Isn't that always the way? Let's try that instead. Maybe that will work. There we go. All right. We have a lot to get to today and a short amount of time because this is a pre-record. So we'll just dive right in. We teased about it yesterday. We didn't have time to touch on it on our show. But there's lots of activity going on within the Liberal Party since the confirmation of Pierre Poilievre as the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. One of the first things that happened is, as we know, Chrystia Freeland is leaving government to take on the road as the director of the Roads Trust, and as well a voluntary position as an economic advisor to Ukraine, especially for reconstruction and all that kind of things. So the Liberals announced very recently that they had selected their nominee for the riding, I think it is University Rosedale. And they came up, Kits and Cubs, with quite a get. There was a lot of buzz about this person having been chosen. According to Benjamin Lopez-Stephen of CBC, the Liberal Party announced Saturday afternoon that family physician, sorry, the screen just jumped on me here, family physician Dr. Danielle Martin will be their candidate for the upcoming federal by-election in University Rosedale, the downtown Toronto riding Chrystia Freeland held until she stepped down earlier this month. Martin is the chair of the Department of Family and Community Medicine at the University of Toronto in 2024. She defended Canada's healthcare system before partisan U.S. Senate committee, an act that received widespread attention at the time. According to a biography distributed by the Liberal Party, Martin will be, quote, a strong advocate for people across the riding. She's ready to work with Mark Carney and the Liberal team to build a stronger economy, protect vital programs workers and families rely on, and empower Canadians with more affordable living costs and more opportunities to get ahead, the biography said. And if you click on the article on CBC, there's actually a video of her session when she was defending Canada's healthcare system in front of US senators. Freeland, as you know, she is leaving, but she had represented University Rosedale since 2015 and was carved out of a riding that Freeland first won in 2013. Prime Minister Mark Carney has not yet called the by-election date, but has announced the candidate. According to Elections Canada, Carney must announce the date of the by-election before January 20th, between January 20th and July 8th, 2026. The earliest date the by-election can be held is March 2nd, 2026. So that is a very big get for the Liberal Party. Then, as we announced yesterday, Bill Blair, a former, I believe, chief of police of the OPP, a little controversial in that he was in office at the time that Stephen Harper was the host of the G20 summit that year, and there were lots of riots, if you remember, and a situation that was later described as one of the worst violations, or the worst violation of civic rights in Canadian history, particularly with one event. But he managed. A lot of people keep on wondering about Bill Blair. How it is he manages to? They assume that he's failing upwards again and again and again. But according to this article by Darren Major of CBC, it seems that upon receiving the nomination, Bill Blair said, "It has been an honor to be your voice in Parliament for the last decade and to work for all Canadians to build safer communities, protect our sovereignty, and shape a better future. I'm deeply grateful for this chapter, and I look forward to continuing to serve Canada and Canadians in this new capacity." The Prime Minister's office news release said Blair is bringing his 4 decades of experience serving Canadians and protecting their security to the role. The PMO also announced that Nathalie Drouin, who has been serving as the Deputy Clerk of the Privy Council and National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, has been appointed Canada's next ambassador to France. Both appointments will take effect this spring, the release said. As Canada forges new partnerships with the United Kingdom and France across trade, investment, and divestment, let's try that again. As Canada forges new partnerships with the United Kingdom and France across trade, investment, and defense, we will work together to strengthen the multilateral system and create greater stability, security, and prosperity for both sides of the Atlantic, the release said. And it goes on to say that François-Philippe Champagne, the finance minister, described his former cabinet colleague as, quote, someone with an aura. I think he will have the right profile to position Canada in the United Kingdom at a very critical moment in our relationship. And that is indeed the case if you look at his post-OPP experience, because he has been public safety minister while he was in cabinet under Trudeau. And given what's going on with the United States and the fact that we need to be more careful, and the UK and Canada are both Five Eyes members, it might be good in this particular instance and in this particular time to have someone there who has specific experience on the public safety file, and given that we're probably going to have to modify how we do things, given that the current version of the United States has not proven to be particularly trustworthy. Well, let's just put it that way. So he does have a good profile for this job at the current time. François-Philippe Champagne does very astutely note this. Of course, Blair was the public safety minister during the 2022 Freeland convoy protests. He testified at the Public Order Emergency Commission looking at the government's use of the Emergencies Act during the protests. Current Public Safety Minister Gary Anandansangiri said Blair has offered, quote, great advice both as a minister and MP. Bill listens more than he speaks, Anandansangiri said. His role as High Commissioner will be quite important in such a crucial time in our history. I am sorry, there is a ton of noise going on back here. I'm hoping that the camera is not picking it up, but that's why I'm speaking louder, because it's actually drowning me out in the room where I'm doing this. Blair is the second Trudeau-era minister to resign this year after former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland left her seat in January, of course. And I mean, it has been rumored for a good while now. We've been talking about it, that Bill Blair would be leaving to take on this diplomatic post. And if you remember, Mark Carney a while ago said that there would be a few by-elections in the coming months, even though at the time Freeland's was the only seat that was vacant. And of course, we knew that Matt Jean-Roux from the Conservatives was going to step down at some point this spring. Again, once an MP gives the notice to the Speaker of the House of Commons that they've resigned their seat, the Speaker has to notify the Chief Electoral Officer that the seat is vacant. And once that notice has been given, the government would have 11 to 180 days to call a by-election. The government will have to wait the 11-day minimum before calling a by-election for Blair's former riding of Scarborough Southwest. That's just what's in the law. It gives Elections Canada time to prepare things. So that's a standard for every by-election. By-election campaigns must last a minimum of 36 days. Like Blair, Dwayne testified before the inquiry exploring the use of the Emergencies Act. She also appeared before the inquiry into foreign electoral interference that ended a year ago. In 2019, Dwayne testified to the House Justice Committee as it studied the SNC-Lavalin affair as well, during which she was the civilian head of the Federal Justice Department. She previously held roles in the Quebec Civil Service. So we have two former cabinet ministers and somebody who was a very high-level public servant at one point within the public service itself, leaving for other opportunities. So that creates the opportunity for 3 by-elections for the Liberals at the moment, in which the Prime Minister can choose to run candidates that would be his team, sort of like the Tim Hodgsons and whatnot, as you know, the people he's brought in, because the turnover with Justin Trudeau's departure and then the leadership race, which happened relatively quickly, did not give Mark Carney the time to bring in people that he would consider his own team, which is usually what happens when you get a new leader. You have a little bit of lead up time for the next election, and then you start talking to people that you would like to bring in for your lineup for the next election and help them get some time and give Canadians time to get to know them before they have to go to the polls and vote. But Mark Carney didn't have that luxury. He had to run with the cabinet and parliament that was there at the time. He did a little cabinet shuffle to start, and then basically went to the election. Because if you're going to ask people in their various careers to interrupt them to go and run for politics, usually people would need more than just 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe even a month or two notice, right? So there's a lot to prepare if you're going to do that, because you're going to have to leave, the position that you hold, and as you know, politics. Even though we vote for an MP, it really is a family affair, right? It affects, often you have to move if you win. So, different lifestyles, different schools, for your kids, if you have them, if you have a partner, maybe they have a career too, and that changes their career path as well. So, it's not just, hey, I would like you to come and run for me. And people say, yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I guess it happens in certain cases, but, don't let me consider that, because I'd have a lot to talk over with my family. It would require a lot of changes to my life. So now he has time to do this. Since he's become prime minister, I'm sure he's been talking to a lot of people. I'm sure he was aware that there would be some by-elections coming up, that there would be opportunities. So look for that here. Now, with regard to Bill Blair, his seat, the candidate has also been named that will be replacing him. Well, not replacing him, I should say that. That will be running to replace him, because obviously this person hasn't got the seat yet to replace him. And this one created a little ruckus in certain circles. According to Peter Zimonjic of CBC, interim federal leader Don, let's just, I will first mention who's speaking, and then I'll get to the controversy here. But it seems that the Liberals, Mark Carney Liberals, have asked a lady named Dolly Begum to be their nominee in this riding. And it says here that Begum represented the provincial riding of Scarborough Southwest for the NDP in Queen's Park since 2018. She resigned on Tuesday ahead of the upcoming federal by-election for the overlapping federal riding, which bears the same name. So the Liberals went to get the current, well, maybe not current now that she's resigned, but at the time, the current deputy leader of the Ontario NDP. Now, that's a big blow to Merritt Stiles. It's also a move that might help the Ontario Liberals, because they're in the leadership race right now, right? So if you take out the deputy leader of the opposition, that's a big blow for that party as they're trying to set up for the next election. It's probably not imminent, but it is a blow to the party. And it seems here that Begum, as I've been quoted as saying, I've had the privilege to earn the trust and fight for the people of Scarborough Southwest for more than 7 years as our MPP. I understand the priorities of our community, and at this crucial moment for our country, I believe we must come together to build a stronger, more united, and more prosperous Canada. Well, that got some reactions, and that's how the article starts here. Interim federal NDP leader Don Davies is accusing Ontario NDP leader Dolly Begum of undermining democracy after announcing she will run federally as a Liberal for the seat vacated by former MP Bill Blair. Quote, when Canadians see politicians betray the values and policies that they claim to believe in, I think it damages our democracy and it breeds cynicism in our politics, Davies said. I'll leave it to Ms. Begum to explain to the people of Scarborough Southwest, I'm sure she's going to do that during the by-election, you don't have to worry about that, sir, why she's abandoning the progressive policies she claimed to believe in to run for a party that is clearly governing like a conservative party. Davies said Begum's decision is about her rather than the current state of the federal NDP, which lost official party status in the last federal election, and more recent public opinion polling is indicating would do even worse. I think recent polling is indicating that if there were an election held today, the NDP might be reduced to 1 seat, and it would be Heather McPherson's, who's in the running for the leadership of the party, and who has recently I can understand the concept, and I agree with it in one way, but it is kind of weird because it's only circumstances that make this okay. But she has called for the government to sanction Canadian companies who are doing business with ICE in the United States. And at first blush, it's kind of weird to hear a Canadian MP asking for the government to sanction Canadian companies. But then when you know why, because we know what ICE is doing, kind of makes sense, and it is in line with NDP policy and practice. But it's just, it brings, wait, what? The NDP wants us to sanction Canadian companies? And then, you have to read further and figure out why and go, oh, okay. I see where you're coming from. But here, and then Alexandre Boulris, the party's only Quebec MP, stated, if you're committed to a political party and a movement, you should stick with it. So I'm disappointed in that kind of decision. I don't think that this is a good attitude for the federal NDP to be taken. It really sounds like big time loser talk. People evolve. Stephen Harper was once a member of the Young Liberals before he became a really staunch conservative. It happens, right? I'm not sure that this means that Beckham is abandoning progressive policies. Yes, of course, the current government is running more like a progressive conservative government, particularly on financial matters. But I think it's pretty clear that when it comes to things that are social, Mark Carney is somewhat progressive. So this is not entirely out of line, and particularly, oh my word, I'm sorry about that. And particularly since provincially, a lot of NDP premiers, such as Wab Kinew and Rachel Notley and Day, even though their banner was NDP, they were operating a little more like progressive conservatives themselves in certain aspects, particularly on financial matters. But you knew that on all social matters, like the Alberta NDP never would have invoked the notwithstanding clause to pass an anti-transgender bill. The Alberta NDP never would have passed an anti-transgender bill. Right? So it's not like the Liberals have abandoned progressive policies, but economically, every now and then the pendulum swings. Sometimes you're economically, you have to shore up your defenses a little bit, and you do need an approach that is a little more conservative in nature. And with Mark Carney, we have a central banker who's a professional risk manager, and well, given the amount of risk that has been placed on our economy by what is happening with the United States and Trump repeatedly attacking us, well, you do have to swing the pendulum that way. You have to respond, again, to the world as it is and not the world as you would like it to be, as Mark Carney has noted. And it seems that the camera has dropped again, so let me fix that one more time. Boy, there is a lot of noise going on all over the place. I have no idea. I think I'm sorry about the camera, hit some cuts. And it seems that there's and the noise, the ambient noise, it seems that there's a street sweeper now that has gone by. Man, I am having trouble today. Let me see if I can just adjust that camera one more time in order that it doesn't look like I'm on a ship that is bumping up and down. Sorry for the movement here. There we go. That's a little better. There. So yeah, another big get for the Liberals here in terms of a by-election, and the NDP kind of losing its mind, attacking its former person in its movement because she made this decision. I don't know if the NDP was looking to actively recruit her to run under their banner in the next election. I'm not sure, given the current state of the federal NDP, why Begum would make that choice rather than staying at Queen's Park and taking on a fight against Doug Ford. But in this case, if the Liberals are approaching her, and no, they are still a progressive policy, a progressive party on all things social. if she has an opportunity to be in government rather than on opposition benches provincially and maybe nowhere federally if she ran for the NDP, and she wants to be of service and have an impact, I'm not sure why she would have refused this opportunity. And it's really interesting that the NDP are sort of taking the position, once you have one political philosophy, you should carry that for your entire life and never, ever, 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 ever change. Because if you do, it's a betrayal to everything that you believe. The people don't work that way, and the world doesn't work that way. It's almost like they were treating her like she's ours. How dare you? That's not a good attitude, and it certainly won't help for the party to recruit if it needs new candidates for an upcoming federal election. So I don't think that was a good move by Mr. Davies. And I'm not the only one who particularly thinks that, because it would appear that as all of this was going on, come on, computer, work with me here. Some more criticism came from another circle, and this one might be a little surprising. But back in Alberta, the leader of the Alberta NDP, Naheed Nenshi, had a few thoughts to express about the federal NDP. This was from yesterday, and according to David Thurton of CBC News, Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi has a blunt message for federal NDP leadership candidates. He said he has spoken with the three frontrunners, Avi Lewis, Heather McPherson, and Rob Ashton, the three frontrunners for the leadership race, and suggested to CBC News that he asked candidates not to stand in the way of his push to win next year's Alberta election. Nenshi is attempting to unseat the United Conservative Party government led by Alberta Premier Daniel Smith. Quote, in Alberta, we are facing a particularly horrifying government, a government that is malicious, that is incompetent, and that is corrupt, to be very blunt. We don't have the luxury of in Alberta to get caught up in ideological battles within our own party. And she said the Alberta NDP is in a, quote, very different position, bluntly, than the challenges facing the federal NDP, which is rebuilding, which is in a rebuilding phase after the last federal election nearly wiped it off the map. Quote, I just needed all of the party leaders to understand that. He pointed to tensions between his predecessor, Rachel Notley, and former NDP leader Jagmeet Singh over issues such as pipelines. Quote, we need to show Alberta voters what a pragmatic, populist, progressive party looks like and what a government in waiting looks like, he said. The provincial wings of the NDP movement have enjoyed much more success than the federal one recently. In Nova Scotia and from Ontario all the way to British Columbia, the NDP either holds governments or forms the official opposition in the provincial legislatures. Meanwhile, at the federal level, the NDP lost official party status in April's election, with only 7 MPs returning to the House of Commons. So basically, Nenshi is saying, federal NDP, don't fuck this up for us. Thank you very much. But he basically, don't mess this up, because, Naheed Nenshi is a little more polite with his language than I am. In one of the sharpest lines of attack in the federal leadership race, Rob Ashton, one of the candidates, praised those provincial NDP leaders while going after one of his competitors. Quote, they don't need a federal leader who lectures them or second guesses them from Ottawa, Ashton said in a social media post. Avi Lewis takes us in the wrong direction. His kind of politics turns New Democrats against each other and undermines the wins NDP governments are delivering. When we're divided, let's be clear about who wins. Conservatives like Doug Ford, Scott Moe, and Danielle Smith. Lewis has raised the most money in the first few months of the race and said Canada, quote, can't keep increasing fossil fuel production. It's a policy position that puts him in conflict with provincial NDP leaders who are broadly supportive of, or at least don't oppose, increasing oil and gas production alongside strong climate policies like an industrial carbon price. Of course, Lewis dismissed the criticism that he's fracturing the NDP movement, or that if he becomes a federal leader, he would undermine the provincial NDP. Quote, we support our provincial sections passionately, Lewis said. We will do anything we can to help Naheed Nenshi be the next premier of Alberta. All Canadians would benefit from a government in Alberta that actually governs for the people instead of its corporate friends. Lewis noted that there are more things the New Democrats provincially and federally have in common, such as opposing the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. When tensions arise, Lewis said they are temporary, like in 2018 when Notley banned BC wine after an interprovincial trade spat over the Trans Mountain Pipeline with NDP Premier John Horgan. These situations are normally a flash in the pan when they appear, and they are remedied by conversation and negotiation among responsible leaders, Lewis said. Lewis also believes debate within the party should be encouraged. Quote, we are allowed to have differences of opinion on individual issues, because we're a Democratic Party. Hey, it's in the name. It's actually okay. And in fact, Canadians in general support the kind of politics where we work together, where we agree and we don't have to agree on everything. Aside from those comments, the Alberta NDP leader said he's staying out of the federal leadership race, and then she said candidates shouldn't expect any help from him. The Alberta NDP leader said he is not voting in the race or endorsing any candidates, although his provincial district overlaps with the riding of the only candidate who currently holds a seat, Heather McPherson. Then she said he's not a member of the federal NDP. Unlike other provincial wings of the New Democratic Party, Alberta NDPers can opt out of federal membership. The NDP is unique in that once you get a provincial membership, you also have federal membership, and vice versa, I believe. And the Alberta NDP at their last policy convention voted to end that practice. That if you're a member of the Alberta NDP, you are not necessarily a member of the federal NDP, as is the case in many other provinces and has been the case since inception. He expects, though, that the membership of the Alberta NDP will have a huge impact on the race. More than 85,000 members were eligible to vote in the 2024 race that elected Nenshi as Alberta NDP leader and the province's opposition leader, though some of those memberships have since lapsed. Quote, I think all of the candidates really see that even though we're a smaller percentage now, whoever wins Alberta probably wins the election, he said. I'm gonna guess that these comments by Davies with regard to Dolly Begum are probably not going to help with what Naheed Nenshi has been asking. It's not a good idea for the federal wing to attack the provincial wing or attack members of their party, even if they are leaving to pursue other options. This was a time that required a little grace, dignity, and statesmanship rather than criticism. So yeah, not the greatest reaction from Don Davies, and I'm sure that Naheed Nenshi was kind of cringing when Don Davies was speaking there. So yeah, lots of comings and goings, and then there's one last one. There might be another by-election on the slate for the Liberals, because it appears that Nathaniel Erskine-Smith, who was once very briefly, all too briefly, housing minister in the federal government, known to be, well, often described as a maverick because he sometimes vocally offers criticism or constructive criticism to his party, sometimes even opposes things, but Erskine-Smith always finds that label a little bit comical, because he goes like, I voted 93% of the time with my party. I'm not sure how that makes me a maverick. But he issued on February 3rd on his Twitter feed, when it comes to Ontario, I'm all in. Join our growing team at teamnate.ca. And then he put out a statement. The goal is to make the biggest difference we can when we have an opportunity to serve. Dolly Begum has been a strong progressive representative. She's going to make a great Liberal MP for our East End community, and I have no doubt that she'll make a bigger difference as a member of our federal team. I'll continue to support Prime Minister Carney and our federal Liberal team. At the same time, I know that the biggest difference I can make is rebuilding our provincial Liberal Party to deliver for Ontarians. And a lot of his ideas for housing had been presented and were lauded when he ran for the leadership the first time, but lost it to Bonnie Crombie, mainly because she had more name recognition. And the Liberal Party, Ontario Liberal Party, thought if they wouldn't gotten themselves quote unquote savior, that would do the trick, that they wouldn't have to do all the hard work with regard to policy and reaching out to riding associations and all that good stuff in order to make that happen. And well, Bonnie Crombie didn't really deliver, in judging by what was said around the time that there was the New Leaf Liberals campaign to sort of encourage membership to ask for new leadership. It seems that she wasn't really all in on doing the work. Let's put it that way. We've been working hard to build a provincial team that's ready to run, win, and govern together, and the rules for the leadership race will be announced soon. When it comes to Ontario, I'm all in.
To that end, I'll seek the Ontario Liberal Party's nomination to run in the Scarborough Southwest by-election. So here's interesting, if you're watching like the musical chairs, right? Bill Blair leaves the federal Liberals to become High Commissioner to the UK. Dolly Begum leaves her position as Deputy Leader of the Ontario NDP to run in the riding to become a federal Liberal in Scarborough, which means that seat gets vacated, and Nate Erskine-Smith, who's a federal Liberal, is now going to run in the provincial by-election there, and in the hopes of gaining a seat, and then hopes of becoming the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Can we stop the music and see who still has a chair? So, as I repeat, to that end, I'll seek the Ontario Liberal Party's nomination to run in the Scarborough Southwest by-election. I've communicated this to interim leader John Fraser, and I will continue to support Prime Minister Mark Carney as an active member of our federal caucus in the meantime. We deserve better than this tired, incompetent, and self-dealing Conservative government. We deserve smart, fair, and honest leadership here in Ontario. The answer is participation. Join our growing team at teamnate.ca. So I don't think he has resigned his seat yet, but he is definitely announced that he is in the race, that he's organizing. He is the first name officially, I think, throwing his hat to the ring. There might have been some people who have been musing aloud about it, but we haven't heard too much about it. But he's the first person to actually make the big splash and say, hey, yeah, I'm all in. I will be a candidate. I will take up this challenge. So this is very interesting because Daniel Erskine-Smith is someone that does have the stuff in the chops. He definitely presents well media-wise. He's extremely telegenic. He's definitely someone who offers substance, and it seems that people who offer substance are a little bit in fashion right now. If we look at Mark Carney versus Chapelier. So maybe the timing wasn't right the first time because, again, the Ontario Liberals were maybe not looking to do the hard work that was needed to actually rebuild the party. But that's not the case for Smith. This is a man that's definitely not averse to hard work. So this could be good. This could be good because in Ontario public opinion polling is indicating that Ontarians really are tired of Doug Ford, but they just don't see anybody else they can vote for. That might change. Federally, that's also the case actually at the moment. If we're looking at the three major parties, the NDP, the Conservatives, and the Liberals, of the three parties, there appears to be only one that hasn't added to the room. When the interim leader of the NDP is swelling up and falling apart because a provincial NDP member decides to run for the Liberals federally, probably should have adopted the same attitude that Nate Erskine-Smith put here, rather than trashing her. Just saying. Sometimes a little diplomacy goes a long way. A little being above the fray goes a long way. Don Davies could have just said, oh, well, she was an excellent performer for the NDP in Ontario. We are really proud of her accomplishments. We are sad that she will not be remaining with the NDP fold, but we know that she's a quality person, and it would probably benefit the Liberals to have someone a little more progressive in their party, considering how conservative they've been. We wish her all the luck in the world. And if she does become a federal MP, we will be glad to work with her because we know that we will have somebody within the government to whom we can speak and understands us. That could have been another way Don Davies could have gone, but instead he had a temper tantrum. Not exactly professional. Not exactly professional, and I don't think that's what Canadians are looking for at this particular moment. So Erskine-Smith has similar qualities to Mark Carney in that he is able to answer questions. He knows his file. He's not afraid to take questions. He is rather telegenic, and at this particular time, he is someone that is going to offer some substance. Who knows? Maybe this could actually work out for him this time, and maybe he is the person that Ontarians will be able to get behind in order to finally see the back of Doug Ford.
This man needs to go. This man really needs to go because, my God, if it is not nailed down in Ontario, he's going to pick it up and sell it to someone. He's doing stuff with water again, selling it. So, he needs to be gone before there's nothing left. All right, kids, cats. Other news that we have for you today. Jamil Jivani has somehow decided that he needs to take it upon himself to travel to Washington, D.C. and offer help to the Mark Carney Liberals in its negotiations with the United States on a free trade. Jivani spoke about that earlier. He had put out a statement saying that he was willing to help, and nobody took him up on it because, one of the reasons he's a bit of an attention seeker. That we all know how Jamil Jivani came to national prominence. He was a journalist and got fired, and then appeared to make a claim that I think it was the CBC fired him because his views were not necessarily in support of Black Lives Matter, and him being a black man. I don't know if he's a mixed race but it doesn't matter. Being a black man, like me, mixed race, doesn't matter, right? But a lot of people don't think I'm a black man when they look at me. But basically saying that the CBC expected me to take a pro-Black Lives Matter position because I was black and I didn't. So therefore, they fired me and tried to launch a court case. I don't know what happened with the court case. Haven't heard anything about it since. But that allowed him to grab the mantle grab a lot of attention, and he ran immediately to the Conservative Party, saying, "Oh my God, it's like all these terrible liberals and that terrible CBC that you wanted to fund, for saying that all black people need to have the same position or else they're not really black. Oh my God, such racism, all this liberal racism," and then got his nomination. But in the big shadow cabinet, the huge shadow cabinet that not shadow cabinet, but shadow cabinet is an American term, and the opposition critic cabinet, when Pierre was delivering all those goodies to make sure he maintains his position, he offered a position or title to pretty much everyone except Jamil Jivani. But Jamil Jivani is talking about liberal racism. Okay. And since then, he's been going rogue out on his own. And if you watch the video that he put out stating that he was going to Washington, D.C. To help, I guess, there's some stuff in there that is a little weird. When he did about a 5-minute video with this explaining why it is that he was going, but in that video, Mr. Jivani has behind him a big sign with his name, with a whole bunch of signatures of people, I guess, who support him on it. And in front of him has a baseball cap with a logo that says "Restore the North." Jamil Jivani has basically lifted the Charlie Kirk playbook and has been touring university campuses, trying to talk mostly to young men and trying to recruit them, letting them know how the future is so bleak under liberal governments. And liberal governments keep on attacking young men, and if you want hope, you gotta become a conservative. Okay, but this seems to be an initiative that he has taken up on his own. He said, I'm on my way to Washington, D.C., and I wanted to explain to the Canadian people exactly why, because you're probably going to hear about it. I'm going to Washington because now, that might sound counterintuitive, but he wants to help negotiate trade with the United States, of course, because he is a principled conservative. Sure you are. He says the trade thing with the United States is not a partisan issue, and everybody needs to come together, and that the trade is so important to our economy and our future as an independent and self-reliant nation that conservatives and liberals don't need to fight over this at all. In fact, we need to work together. The leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre, has said as much. So, and said he has offered help. Of course, Pierre has offered help several times, as we mentioned yesterday, on camera and letters, but actually hasn't lifted a damn finger to help. Pierre has never done what Jamil Jivani has done, gone to the United States and tried to work his contacts for the benefit of Canada. So I'm watching this go here, and the first thing, question I had in my mind is, well, did Pierre Poilievre task you with that? And we can't seem to get a clear answer from Pierre Poilievre on that. Mark Carney made the point yesterday of stating that he didn't ask him to go, and that as far as he knows, he doesn't think that Jamil Jivani was named as the opposition's trade critic on the file. So he doesn't speak for Canada, and he's not going there on anybody's authority. And even Pierre Poilievre, when being asked about that, just made some type of general statement that we all need to work together. But he didn't actually say, yes, I tasked him with going. So I don't know what Jamil Jivani is doing. Hey, maybe he just wants to have a dinner date with his good friend J.D. Vons and wanted to expense it to taxpayers. And said he's going down there to talk to Americans to help us with free trade, even though nobody asked him to. At all. Nobody asked. With a big sign that has his name behind him and a Restore the North. You know, when the Conservatives were saying all this time that Pierre's leadership review is safe because nobody is openly organizing against him, Jamil Jivani has been traveling around university campuses, picking up people's names, building up a database. He is very attention-seeking, always inserting himself in stuff. For some reason, the media keeps on covering him, rather than just dismissing him as a kook. But yeah, he went over there, and interestingly, much like Jeffrey Rath of the Alberta Perfidy Project, I'm talking to high-level officials, but won't say who. Interesting. Now, the other thing that this could be, it could be that he just wants to have a dinner date with J.D. Vons and expense it, but it also could be a situation where Pierre Poilievre better watch his back, because it looks like Jamil Jivani has got the knives out and is looking to plunge them into Pierre Poilievre's political back in the same manner that Pierre Poilievre plunged political knives in the back of Aaron O'Toole to push him out. Oh my. What goes around comes around. Be nice to the people on the way up, because they may be waiting with knives to shove their back on the way down. Just saying. So Jivani, interestingly, had meetings yesterday, said, I had some meetings with some high-level officials, and I will have much more to say about that later. You shouldn't have anything to say about that later, let alone much more, because you never should have been there. But there was also one more thing that Jamil Jivani decided to do yesterday, according to Salma Ibrahim. He says, well, his tweet was, productive meetings today with the White House and State Department. The president asked me to pass along a message. Seems to me that if Jamil Jivani was bringing a message, it should have been a message from Canada to the President of the United States. He should not be bringing back a message from the President of the United States. The United States is more than capable of operating airwaves to deliver their own message. So Jamil Jivani went to the United States claiming that he wanted to help Canada and came back essentially as a carrier pigeon for Donald Trump. according to the CBC. Conservative MP Jamil Jivani says he met with Trump administration officials on Wednesday as he visits the United States Capitol on an independent trip billed as an effort to improve Canada-U.S. trade relations. Jivani said U.S. President Donald Trump gave him a message to share with fellow Canadians. Tell the Canadians I love them. Okay, if anybody knows anything about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's love, the message Jamil Jivani should have delivered back is like, Mr. Trump, thank you for your love. We don't particularly need it because your love is kind of creepy, and nobody in Canada wants you to grab it by the Kit Kat. You can keep your grabby little hands off our national Kit Kat. So this is a bad move, and this is a move that very publicly undermines Pierre Poilievre's leadership. Now, I'm not saying that MPs shouldn't be going to the United States and working whatever contacts they have, even if it is independently. But that's usually something that's done a little more quietly. This is being really promoted. It's like, I'm going to help. Look at me, I saved the day, type thing. Of course, Jivani is a friend of U.S. President J.D. Vance, who hasn't been particularly kind to us either. So I'm not sure what kind of benefit he could bring. And to be totally honest, if I was the federal government and there was an MP on the other side who was very, very good friends with the vice president, who's been openly extremely hostile to us, and said, I'm going there to help, please task me with a mandate, I would say, no. I'm sorry. I'm not sure that we can trust you with that. Thank you very much. And we've got that. We've got this. Thank you. We're the government. We negotiate on behalf of Canada. Thank you for your offer, but no thanks. Speaking on his way to a caucus meeting earlier Wednesday, Prime Minister Mark Carney said while Jivani was briefed by Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc, the government is, quote, in constant contact with U.S. administration and has its own list of extensive contacts. Quote, Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Jivani, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition, certainly not the Minister of International Trade or the Prime Minister of Canada. Zing. When asked about the briefing, Jivani said that he exchanged emails with LeBlanc, but they have yet to speak over the phone or in person despite weeks of effort. He got the briefing. People don't trust Jivani. They don't want his help. They don't want him anywhere near this file, and I understand why. Quote, we are working on a meeting for next week where I can fully debrief him on my meetings in Washington, he wrote. I hope I get the chance to speak with the Prime Minister also instead of us having to communicate through the media. I look forward to meeting with them and the opportunity to put partisanship aside. Oh, bullshit. If you wanted to put partisanship aside, you wouldn't be doing that Rich Store of the North tour. And you wouldn't be talking about liberal racism. So, no. In another bit of news, the Poilievre had his meeting with Prime Minister Carney yesterday, and he keeps on saying he wants to help, but there's a clip circulating of him in a scrum as Liberal ministers are going by to go into a meeting. He says, I'm here to give hope. And as these Liberal ministers are crossing behind him, says, these guys are not that hope. Yeah, because you're going there to be helpful, right? Helpful. You slag the ministers from the governing party as being unhelpful and not as unhelpful, as not representing hope. As you're going into a meeting with the Prime Minister that he's graciously granted you, because again, you don't particularly deserve it, and and insults them. But he wants to help. Okay. Kids and cubs. Already, that's the end of our time this morning because we have to keep them short on pre-records. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please share our content and let everyone know why it resonated with you. If you would like to support us, you can do this by going to our YouTube page. It's Cassie and Elaine would approve. The QR code that will appear will bring you right there. So please go there and click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. I have to do the booster seat thing again because that helps us with the algorithm. And if you would like to help us financially, right here, this QR code will bring you to our coffee page and the emergency hydration fund here at the Beaver Lodge, where a couple of loonies or toonies can help us keep on producing this content for you that you appreciate. So we thank you so much for that. And if you are buying Canadian, you can use our email address, truenortheagerbeaver.gmail.com, to make a direct transfer and have it such that the USC Tech Bros don't see a cent of your donation, that it comes to us instead. And the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund is at our coffee page, coffee.ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, we have super chat and memberships for you. So in any way that you support us, we appreciate it. And if you're not able to support us financially, well, please send us a word from you to let us know what you think about the show, or have some guest suggestions. Send us some articles or clips you think that we should see. All these ways that you can contribute to the show that are not financial are very welcome and appreciated. So thank you for all that you do. Because democracy is something that you do, of course, we have the two petitions for asking the Minister of Health to invoke Section 90 of the Constitution Act of of the Constitution Act. I'm trying to do this fast, so I'm mixing up in my ears, of 1867. Oh boy, it's not smooth here. In order to counter and annul legislation from the governments of Saskatchewan and Alberta that attack our transgender brothers and sisters, and of course the other petition to ensure that Canadian media ownership is indeed Canadian. And of course we have the public consultations for high-speed rail at altotrain.ca, so you can participate in that. And of course the leadership race for the PEI Progressive Conservatives that will take place on the 7th. That's the voting day. And of course, a by-election provincially in Quebec in Chicoutimi. So a lot of stuff going on there. Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. I don't really have any other than, rest is good. So if you have the opportunity over the next while to get in a little extra rest, maybe going to bed early, that would be very good. I have not been very good at doing that, so I've been on vacation, but I hope that when we get to our new spot, I will definitely be able to do that and start getting a little more actual rest in terms of sleep, because it's important. All right, kids, that's all we have for today. Please be kind and gentle with yourself. And with that, may I ask you to say, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. I hear you, kids and cubs. There you go. I cannot deny you. And boom.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
Not much time for an Easter egg, so I'm just going to say amor y besitos, and see you tomorrow. Bye. Hasta mañana.